Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. We'll be talking about, of course, the ECP as far as the elections is concerned, as far as the deadline of the elections, the 90-day period controversy, and the ECP saying that as far as the law is concerned, they stand firm on making sure that, of course, we are looking at delimitation, we are looking at the requirements that the preparedness that must be undertaken. As far as the caretaker setup is concerned, the Prime Minister vows, the caretaker Prime Minister again talked about how the main duty of the government, the caretaker government, is to assist in the upcoming elections. We'll be talking about this. We'll also be talking about, of course, the Toshakhana hearing as far as Islamabad High Court is concerned. What the legality of the arguments as far as the stage where the trial is at this time, and what are we looking at considering, of course, the remarks of the Supreme Court also. All of that today on Perspective. I have with me Naveed Aman Khan, who's a senior analyst. Thank you for being with us today. We also have with us Barrister Safiullah, who's a legal expert. Thank you for joining us today. And we have with us Muneeb Qadir, who is a political analyst. Thank you for being with us today. Ji, Naveed sahab, as far as the ECP is concerned, they've clearly said that it is the mandate of their mandate to give the election date, and we've seen as far as the office of the president is concerned, that seems to be contested at this time. How are you looking at things?
Mahrukh, Election Commission is the only body which is meant to hold elections. No other institution is liable to hold the elections. Even the president has nothing to do with the decision of holding the elections or announcement of the date of the elections. Because the Election Commission is independent, and this institution is constituted for the elections only. So the Election Commission will give the date of election. And that is why the Election Commissioner has not gone to see the President of Pakistan after being called for.
Let me go to Safiullah on that. Safiullah, as far as the legality of this is concerned, okay, the Election Commission says that there is an amendment, because of which that the mandate is not with. But there's a provision in the Constitution as well, the 48(5). Are we going to, how is that? Can we read the election amendment? It has to be read in line with the provision of the Constitution, does it not?
Right. So obviously, one can always argue and say that the amendment in the Election Act, which is Section 57, which was quoted by the Chief Election Commissioner, is subordinate to the Constitution. Obviously, it is subordinate to the Constitution. Nobody argues otherwise. However, there is a caveat, and for some reason the President seems to have forgotten that before 48(5) we have 48(1), which says that the President itself has a titular role, and the President is to act on the advice of the Prime Minister and the Cabinet. The President is not an authority within Pakistan where he goes around, exercises his powers with absolute wanton and whimsical authorities. This is a parliamentary system. Did he seek advice from the Cabinet before he wrote to the Chief Election Commissioner? Did he seek advice from the Prime Minister? None of that happened. Just decided to write straight up, put it up on Twitter like he always does, without any consideration as to what happened. And then after he was replied, what was the President's reply? Oh, we have to refer the matter to Law Ministry. Why did you not refer the matter to the Law Ministry before you wrote to the Chief Election Commissioner?
This is the point.
What kind of a strange behavior is this?
Muneeb, do you agree with this? You think that, perhaps in this case, the Office of the President acted in haste, as far as the tweet is concerned, as far as coming out and not referring the matter perhaps to the Ministry before. How do you look at that?
Absolutely. I mean, there's one debacle after another when it comes to President Arif Alvi, particularly with respect to the tweet that he came up with, where he said that he had not even signed the bills which were presented to him to assent to. He had never assented to those. And then he started blaming the officials within his own department, and he transferred one of the officials without any hearing, without giving any opportunity to the official to defend themselves. So you cannot be running your role as the head of the state through your social media account. You have to follow the process which is mentioned in the Constitution itself. And with regards to that particular fiasco fiasco which took place with respect to the president in relation to the bills, the amendments to the Army Act and the Official Secrets Act. Article 75 is very clear that you either have to assent within 10 days or otherwise you have to refuse assent, giving reasons in writing, neither of which he had done. And conveniently, he just said that he had absolutely no clue who had signed or assented on his behalf. Well, is it not the president's role? Yes.
So you see, I mean, of course, we're finally going to have perhaps an interpretation of all the relevant provisions as far as this issue is concerned, and perhaps, you know, have it laid down to rest as far as the controversy itself is concerned.
Absolutely. It is the president's job to know what is going on within their office, which official is doing what, and they cannot say that I was not aware of what was happening, of what my officials are doing on my behalf. That is the very job of the president, that when you take on a position, there's a saying which goes that heavy is the head which weighs the crown. Well, you're the head of state, you have to act like one. So similarly, I mean, be it his powers or responsibilities under Article 75 or Article 48.5, which is being cited here, the president cannot cite non-awareness as a basis for not being able to discharge their responsibilities and constitutional duties. So I absolutely agree with the rest of my co-panelists here.
Let me come back to you. Naveed sir, even now we've seen, you know, as far as the political parties themselves are concerned, there seems to be disagreement. You know, before, of course, we saw a meeting of all the political parties. We saw them come on board as far as the whole issue is concerned. But there seems to be disagreement again over the issue of the 90-day period. We saw the meeting of the CEC as far as the PPP is concerned. And then, you know, after that, again, the 90-day period it has become an issue. Do you agree?
Yes, it is. But, you know, from which date we'll count the 90 days? The mess was created by Imran Khan when he dissolved his KPK and Punjabi assemblies, and he came out of the parliament, and then the mess started in the country. So when the things are not in your control, the things would have been in control when all the assemblies would have been dissolved at the same time. Then you can count very easily 90 days, and then you can go for the elections. But when the things are in a different way, you cannot go for the 90 days provision.
But why do you think? Let me go to Safiullah. Safiullah, why do you think it's too late? It seems to be a little late in the day, like we were earlier talking about, for the PPP to come out and say this now.
Because
you think it's more to do with politics? You think it's just politics? What is it?
This is just politics. There is nothing else to it. I think People's Party has already given their assent when the Council of Common Interest was summoned, and the Council of Common Interest gave their assent. People's Party has representation in the Council of Common Interest. They had every chance to go and contest it. Now that, you know, they've already decided that new census will be adopted, had they not said that, had the decision been that we don't want to adopt the new census, this would never be an issue. The fact that it was known that when the new census will be adopted, and it has been laid out with absolute clarity by the Election Commission that there is a procedure of adopting new censuses, there are new delimitations that need to be made, what time it takes, how long it takes to make electoral rolls. Obviously, these things are not magic. You can't just create things out of thin air. You have to put functionaries to work, and even if all things go according to plan, we know for a fact that limitations will be in December. Elections, therefore, would not be. It would be impossible to hold elections before March.
Yes,
March 2015 is by all stretch of imaginations. And I say this because I also believe in the Constitution. When the Election Commission issues limitations,
but
when it gives a period of.
It could have been done sooner. Why so late?
Because the census results were in question. It was not decided whether you would adopt the new census or the older census. And now that it has been decided that the new census.
Wasn't the last election held on the basis of the census at the time, which was long overdue?
Sorry, I apologize. Which election?
The last election.
2018.
Yes, of course. So this was, but since then Pakistan has changed quite a lot, Mahrukh. We can't obviously be relying on the same results. What are censuses for then? What was the purpose of conducting this nationwide exercise if we are not going to utilize it and have the people benefit from this exercise? The government has spent money. People have participated. I myself participated, gave my data. I want my data updated now. It's my constitutional right.
New voters are included, and the voting lists and the constituencies are being scheduled. So because of the new constituencies, it will take 3 to 4 months, and we cannot go in the elections within 90 days because of all this.
Let's talk about what happens in the 3 to 4 months, or perhaps an extended time of that duration. Let me come back to you. Muneeb, as far as the political capital of different political parties is concerned, who, in your opinion, as far as things stand at this time, as far as political parties are concerned, who do you think stands to gain and lose as far as this time period is concerned? Because we are looking, of course, at a caretaker setup that has been mandated and has started the process of taking very tough decisions. And they also will have their potential ramifications on the overall politics of all political parties, will they not?
The thing is that Chief Election Commissioner Mr. Sikandar Sultan Raja, he did hold consultative sessions recently with both representatives of the PTI and JUIF. So when you ask that what repercussions would the election date have for which party has more of a chance to be successful in the election campaign and which doesn't, well, I do believe that PTI stands to lose in every which way. And that is only fair, because the thing is that PTI has stated that they are not getting a level playing field in the election because their chairman is incarcerated. The point is not and should not be whether the chairman PTI is incarcerated, but the point should be on what grounds he is incarcerated. If he's incarcerated on legal grounds, and that is by virtue of a judgment of 5th August of the trial court, then you cannot complain that you're not getting a level playing field. It's just that your politics was not very conducive to parliamentary democracy anyway. When you lost your vote of no confidence and when your government had to resign, you decided to resign from the National Assembly en masse. So later you cannot complain that you're not getting the opportunity to contest election on a level playing field. You are getting that opportunity. Neither can you complain that we are not being allowed to hold rallies. If the 9th May fiasco is anything to go by, then doesn't inspire a lot of confidence the way that PTI has been playing its politics. Now, it's also interesting that in the consultative session with JUIF, representatives from that particular party have, alluded to the constitution requiring elections to be held within 90 days since the dissolution of the parliament. But at the same time, they do recognize that in order for free and fair election to be held in accordance with the ECP's constitutional duty under Article 218, you have to make sure that once a digital census has taken place, which it has, delimitation exercise should also take place in accordance with the latest census and not in accordance with those that were, prepared for the 2018 election. Otherwise, it cannot really be free and fair election, so to speak. So given the additional powers which have been provided to the ECP under the amendments to sections 57 and 58 of the election act.
Isn't the question at this time then what is a level playing field? I'll come back to you. I'm going to go with this to Naveed Sahab. Naveed Sahab, what is a level playing field then for all political parties? If rallies are an issue, if of course the due process of law must be followed. There's no two ways of that. And as far as the former Prime Minister is concerned, we've had other former Prime Ministers in jail at other times when elections have been held. Isn't that true?
Yes, it is. The level playing field, as far as PMLN is concerned, Nawaz Sharif and his party believes that he was sentenced unjustly last time when he left Pakistan. That was not based on justice because as far as his stance is concerned, his party's stance is concerned. And we also believe that it was a very unjust decision. And he wants to come back, yes, and he'll come back on the 15th of October this year and participate in the elections. And yes, he is also ready to face the courts as well. But he believes and he feels that the courts should give him relief. Relief at this stage when he has completed his, that 5-year punishment. Yes. And now he wants to be very clear and clean when he is going to be the contestant of the elections.
But he's also going to be facing the issue of lifetime disqualification, which I understand, that still law stands. Itself and its fate. Let me go to Safiullah. That also is a little, it's hanging in the balance, isn't it?
It still stands. It's very clear because the Chief Justice of Pakistan dismissed that law. So because of that, Nawaz Sharif and Jahangir Tareen both are currently disqualified for life. Now, unless the Supreme Court in itself comes forward and once again...
Life means 5 years.
No, life.
Life means life.
Life. It is for life. So it's very clear. Right now, as per law, he cannot contest elections. He is not allowed to. In fact, I think that's the least of his concerns, contesting elections. I think the greater and graver concerns will be arrests. Because the convictions as they stand, it's not like he has been acquitted in every case. There are several convictions that still stand. And that's what the problem is until...
But as far as the level playing, let me come back to this. As far as the level playing field is concerned, we have, if we talk about head of political parties, the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif Saab at this time, like you said, stands disqualified.
Yes.
So he's going to have to face the courts in that regard. As far as Jahangir Khan Tareen is concerned, he's also now a head of a political party, you know, however large or not, the question is, and he's going to have to face this issue. So the former Prime Minister in this case, Imran Khan, also, you know, is
now disqualified.
Is facing. So in that sense, isn't there a level playing field?
Yes, it is. Imran Khan is in jail, and if Mia Saab comes and he goes in jail, yes, they will be in jail, or they will be disqualified. And Jahangir Tareen is already disqualified. So you can very clearly say that this is the level playing field. But you know, the courts will have to decide something different. Imran Khan's cases are different from those of Nawaz Sharif. We cannot compare those cases. You know, Imran Khan's cases are, you know, have different dimensions and are proved. But the case in which Nawaz Sharif was punished or sentenced was not proved.
But whatever consequences the former Prime Minister Imran Khan might have for his other cases, criminal or not, I mean, he will, if proven guilty in any of the cases, stand disqualified. So in that sense, I'm saying, you know, it's similar, no?
It is the same. I don't think there is any difference between them at the moment. For all intents and purposes, in fact, I think that there is a very level playing field at the moment. Right now, what we have is, we have no leadership, rudderless parties everywhere, and political workers are in a disarray. The public of Pakistan is also undergoing serious economic shocks.
PTI leadership is in crisis, but not in PMLN.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that as far as political parties are concerned, their ability to have a political structure and rally even in the absence of one leader, because of course there's a whole tier of leadership as far as the PMLN is concerned.
Imran Khan is in jail and nobody is going to replace,
I'll come back to you.
Nobody is there in PTI to replace that sort of or level of leadership of Imran Khan. But if Mia Saab comes and he goes in jail, Maryam Nawaz or Shahbaz Sharif or Hamza or many other leaders are there to go for the campaign. So it matters.
That is true, but of course, for, you know, if you talk to even Maryam Nawaz Saiba, or if you talk to Hamza Shahbaz Sharif, or even the former Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif Saab, they will all say that, you know, as far as Nawaz Sharif Saab is concerned, he has a particular place as the head of PMLN, and the voters associate with him, and the voters have a particular, you know, relationship with him.
Also, the party just has his name in it.
So it's very important.
So his name matters in the party.
Of course, and his presence, of course, you know, as far as the PMLN
that is why he has decided to come before the elections.
Right. So, like Muneeb, overall, as far as, and you know, with regard to, there is a level playing field, of course, and then on the other hand, of course, there are these tough decisions that have to be made, which, you know, are in process. We've seen some of them happen as far as the caretaker setup is concerned. But who do you think it's going to fall into, you know, as far as political capital is concerned? Who stands to lose most as far as, you know, these decisions? And of course, with Pakistan facing such a tough time economically, and for things to get back in the right direction, do you think the time period of maybe even another extended 3 to 4 months will be enough for that to happen?
You know, it's such a precarious situation that we are in. It's very difficult to predict what exact time the election shall take place on. Now, ideally, it should have been within 90 days. But within 90 days of what? Within 90 days since the KP and Punjab assemblies were dissolved, because that happened earlier, or within 90 days since the National Assembly was dissolved. So it's a bit of not even bit, I think that would be an understatement. It's quite an uncertain situation as of now. But what we know for sure is, like one of my co-panelists also mentioned, that holding, even if I were to take the date since the National Assembly was, dissolved, 90 days starting from there onwards, it's impossible that upon the fresh delimitation exercise, elections would be able to take place anytime this year. So they would be delayed, most likely by 3-4 months. But you still don't know that how long that extension shall last. But again, you asked me that which party stands to lose the most if the elections are to be delayed or if the caretaker government were to stay. I've already mentioned, and I will reiterate, that it's the PTI which stands to lose the most, and that is all owing to their own politics, owing to their own brand of politics, which was never conducive to a healthy parliamentary democracy style politics. It was all based on street power. And so, as far as level playing field goes, just like my co-panelists have mentioned, that, the IPP party, its head, Mr. Jahangir Tareen, he stands disqualified. Mr. Nawaz Sharif stands disqualified for life. And then you've got, Mr. Imran Khan, who was declared to be disqualified for 5 years from contesting any election. So that is as level playing as it gets, really. But within that, a lot of decisions of the past need to be revisited, because it's unfair to compare Imran Khan's situation with Mr. Nawaz Sharif's situation, because Mr. Nawaz Sharif's disqualification was based on extremely frivolous grounds, which was an ikama that he himself was not quite aware of. So the aspect of mens rea, whether he knowingly failed to declare that ikama through which he was receiving the 10,000 dirhams, or did he do that intentionally, that was never even established. Whereas in Mr. Khan's case, he's been given a lot of chances to appear in front of the accountability court, very thoroughly decided. Thrice the trial judge had to consider the maintainability of the case, and Mr. Khan has been facing 180 cases. That was never the situation with Mr. Nawaz Sharif. So level playing field, if PTI is complaining about that, then I think that they got more than equal treatment from the judiciary and from the courts. And even then, despite all of that, Mr. Khan has been found to be guilty and he's been convicted. So I really don't think that there is any unfairness.
But Muneeb, that's, of course, but as far as the overall, political structure is concerned, as far as the PTI is concerned, let me go to Naveed Saab, I'll come back to you. Naveed Saab, as far as the political structure is concerned, we saw what happened with the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif Saab. Yes, of course, there is a whole tier of leadership there. But, the PTI talked about it, and I think the counsel for PTI, I believe Ali Zafar mentioned in court that they've had their intra-party elections, that's also in court. But the issue is that, they've always said that they're a most democratic party, they've also had elections there, they've got a tier of leadership, all of that. But now it seems like, there seems to be a dearth of leadership at this time as far as the PTI is.
Definitely, PTI is facing crisis of leadership. Imran Khan was the only leader, and Imran Khan did not prepare any number two to him during his all.
But Shah Mahmood Qureshi Sahab,
no.
He's also now, of course, he's on remand, and there is, he's also.
Though Shah Mahmood Qureshi was announced vice chairman, but he was not accepted as a vice chairman of the party by the chairman of the party of PTI. That is why when Imran Khan was in jail, Shah Mahmood Qureshi could not handle the party, or was not allowed to handle the party as well. And number three is there is nobody there to be replacing Shah Mahmood Qureshi at this stage. But in PMLN they have many replacements. So the situation of PTI is quite different from that of the PMLN, and I don't think that.
Why do you think there is, there is this absence of of the PTI to develop it? Is it because only one leader is associated?
Right.
And when he talks about his vote bank.
I love this question, and I love this question because this is the central problem with PTI. PTI does not stand for anything. The whole idea of PTI is the cult following of one man.
That is
that is so we don't have an economic agenda, we don't have a social agenda, we don't know if we are left, right, right, Islamic, secular, whatever, he's everything. He's a playboy, but he's also a devout Muslim. He's also, on the one hand, with Russia, but he's also with the US, with China. He is whatever they want him to be. And he's such a nebulous, almost messiah-like personality who can do no wrong. And because nobody else within PTI can ever hit that standard that they've set for their own leader. It's such a high standard, it's such an inhuman standard that they've set for him, that it is literally impossible for PTI to continue sans Imran Khan, because PTI is not presenting any ideas. There is no concept of, okay fine, if Imran Khan, like right now he's in jail, what is the PTI supposed to do? What is the agenda now? How are we going to pull the people out of poverty? What are we going to do for electricity prices, or for inflation, or for our foreign affairs?
You think other parties have that?
I think that to a degree they have them, and his incarceration in jail is in fact the best evidence of that. So when Nawaz Sharif was arrested, we know for a fact that we had appeals coming in from Saudi Arabia, from Qatar. We know that he has some friends out of Pakistan who are willing to support him. If the same thing happens to Zardari, we know that China has in the past spoken up against his incarcerations. Which country is talking about Imran Khan?
No.
He's tried everything. Everyone has met the US ambassador, done everything, gone to the EU, even hired a lawyer to go to the UN. It's an absolute joke now. No international country respects him. No other leader respects him. Does he have any other friends amongst the political parties? Is any other political party standing and saying, no, what's happening to Imran Khan is wrong?
But what about his claim that anyone who has his ticket will be able to get votes?
That's
on the
nonsensical.
ground?
That's just plain nonsensical, and that is proven by the fact that now that he is in jail, there is no protest coming out. If people can support anyone who is in PTI without a standard leadership, without what you would call an electable leader. It was electables earlier who were bringing the people out, and that's why we had 9th May.
One thing is very important, that Imran Khan on 9th of May, he detached himself from his followers, from his
electables,
yeah. Those who were involved in protests and attacks. And now when Imran Khan is in jail, all those have detached themselves from Imran Khan, and nobody has come out for any sort of protest or any sort of support to Imran Khan, either in Pakistan or abroad.
See, Mahrukh, I just want to add here, he's the leader who said about his own leadership that it is so irrelevant that he said that if he points at a khamba, an electricity pole, that pole would get elected. That is the respect he gives to his own people.
This is insulting.
Even after 9th May, he has reiterated that, and he said that people will vote for him regardless of who stands.
So that's the problem. Now nobody's coming out because khambas don't pull people out on the streets. Real people do. So if he were to give some respect to his own leaders, they would be out for him right now.
I want to
factually doesn't work.
Of course.
Muneeb,
I want to talk about the Toshakhana case. As far as of course, we saw what remarks came from the SC. We've also seen a reaction from other political parties. We've seen what Maryam Nawaz Sahiba said. We've seen what Nawaz Sharif Saab said. As far as these kind of remarks are concerned, we also saw what happened in the High Court today. How are you looking at these developments as far as this case is concerned?
First of all, Sardar Lateef Khosa Sahab, who is representing Mr. Imran Khan, I think it's been a very disappointing day for him because the ECP's lawyer, Mr. Amjad Parvez, could not show up, and that became the reason why the case has been now adjourned to Monday, 28th August. And that was the question that Mr. Khosa kept on asking the Islamabad High Court Chief Justice, that so you mean to say that the man, as in Imran Khan, is going to remain incarcerated for the next 3 days just because the lawyer from the other side did not show up? But also, the PTI lawyer said that he would be boycotting the future proceedings in the Islamabad High Court. He wouldn't show up on Monday, which I think is extremely unfortunate. Because when lawyers and such senior lawyers, they undermine the authority of the judiciary by saying that we're boycotting the future proceedings, or we do not accept the verdict of the court, or we do not accept the adjournment of the case, then I think that sets a very poor example for other lawyers and for the legal fraternity as a whole, that just because a judgment or a verdict is not to your liking, let alone adjournment, you are going to malign judges. And that is something we've been seeing a lot from the PTI, by the way. The way they have been maligning Judge Dilawar the additional sessions judge who gave the landmark 5th August verdict in which he disqualified Mr. Khan for 5 years. Later, we saw that PTI followers and PTI supporters in the UK were trying to harass him. There had been propaganda going on against Judge Dilawar, be it in the form of doctored and fake screenshots from Facebook, or these claims that the judge was biased, even though there's not a shred of evidence to suggest anything of the sort. So, on the one hand, we've got.
Isn't it true that we've seen this happen after? Let me go to Safiullah on this. I'll come back to you. Safiullah, isn't it true that we've seen this happen after the remarks of the SC?
So I think the remarks of the SC are just opera dicta. They don't hold any value.
But don't
these
they
are just,
really?
They don't. At this moment, Mahrukh, you know very well, you're also a barrister.
But for the political scene, I'm saying for it to have political
I think the Chief Justice
capital
has an unfortunate tendency of saying things and then later he goes back on them sometimes as well. But that's besides the point. I mean, his statements that are just being issued by the way are problematic. They have always been problematic, but let's leave those aside.
But should they be issued in this way when a case of high profile?
Of course, we know it sets emotions alight. Of course, we know it creates a problem. Of course, but he still keeps doing it.
Supreme Court.
Yeah. So let's leave that. But I want to focus on what happened today, and I'll echo what Muneeb said. He very rightfully pointed out a bunch of things, but I also want to point out a few more things, which I felt were very unfortunate. And I have tremendous respect for Sardar Latif Khosa. Honestly, I've seen him in the courts. When he talks, I have been awestruck by him. He's a fantastic lawyer. But what he did today was unbecoming of a senior lawyer. I would not expect that of my seniors. What happened today? Imran Khan in the Toshakhana case sought over 150 adjournments. That's not a problem. Now one adjournment was sought by the opponent counsel and he said he will never appear in the court again. He started saying that this is going to weigh down on the judge's conscience. He said that the judge has to now go and answer Allah for this. What kind of a world do we live in? And then, as if all of that was not enough, now this fiasco that he created for no reason at all in the court, which is very dramatic and completely uncalled for. And apart from him, of course, 5 other senior lawyers, Aman Raja, also Baba Rawan, two more senior names. Then all of them, all 16 of them with their associates and everyone, all 16 of them then entered into an elevator that was meant for just 8 people. Obviously the elevator could not handle their load. And Khwaja Haris is
Khwaja Haris is very smart man. He knows that there is nothing
let me just complete. So they entered into an elevator that was meant for 8 people. There were 16 people. The elevator got stuck. Everybody knows that there was a technical problem with the elevator. And then what these people started doing is they started coming out and screaming that this is an assassination attempt on us. The fact that an elevator got stuck and then he gave a huge press conference outside saying that the powers that be are trying to kill them because 16 people decided to enter into an elevator. This is unfortunate. This behavior, this paranoia that probably emerges from Imran Khan, who started saying that he will be shot dead and he's slow poisoned, now is within his legal community.
But isn't it also indicative of the way the legal and political are merging in this instance, and how it's a lot about playing to the audience, it's about building a political narrative?
That's what I'm so sad about, because what happens is that there are people who chew it up. The moment all of this happened, his associates started saying that there is an assassination attempt on Sardar Latif Khosa, and people are tweeting that. Now people are saying that this was an assassination attempt. It's so sad. Every time a car gets stuck, they'll say it's an assassination attempt. Anything happens, they'll just think.
Imran Khan have been saying that his life is in danger.
Then
Musha Bibi started.
According to news reports at this time, there are reports that Judge Dilawar has just been made OST, and I think he's the one who's given the verdict in the Toshakhana case.
Yes.
That itself, do you think, will have political ramifications, Naveed sir? I think, of course, for PTI, they will, try to get as much political capital out of this as possible.
They will be, the PTI people will be very happy on this. But I don't think that there will be any such ramification on his.
But of course, the verdict stands. I mean,
yes, it is. His decision is there, and Imran Khan is sent to jail because of that decision. So once the decision is made, it worked, and Imran Khan is now, he is guilty because of that decision.
Muneeb, overall, of course, the way that we are looking at, I know as lawyers, you and of course Safiullah here also are reluctant to comment on this, and rightfully so. But overall, as far as our legal process is concerned, the way, the way that we see these comments coming in and the way the reaction again from all political parties also, where, you know, comparison is being made also of what happened. You know, there have been other political cases, and when Maryam Nawaz talks about her father's case, when she talks about the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif Saab's case, and she talks about their pain and their misery in jail, the way they were treated in jail, the way that you know, her mother, her illness, and then, you know, not being allowed to come, and all of that is right there, and those are facts also. So, you know, the way that now they are being you know, like one can say, compared, it also shines a light, you know, rather an unfavorable one on the political process, does it not?
Of course it does, but also not just the political process, also on the legal process, on the justice system as a whole, because as it is, you know, famously said, justice must not only be done but also be seen to be done. And you've just cited what was done to, you know, PMLN leadership back in the day in the run-up to the 2018 general election. I just used the words frivolous grounds. And I do believe that the Panama Papers verdict, that case was based on frivolous grounds. And I'm not the only person who's saying that. Other than legal analysts, you know, one of PTI's own lawyers, Mr. Hameed Khan, he said that it was already decided, even before the court delivered its verdict, that Nawaz Sharif just had to go. I mean, these are very serious claims and they need to be investigated. Now, coming to Mr. Khan, and also, you know, the attitude of the judiciary towards the Toshakhana case, it's very unfortunate that you've got the same case, and there has been wrangling going on between different courts and between different judges sitting at different levels, that on the one hand, the Supreme Court has yesterday, in a sense, preempted the Islamabad High Court's verdict by saying that there were technical errors in Judge Dilawar's 5th August decision, whereby it's felt that, you know, Chief Justice Pandyal is somehow trying to influence the Islamabad High Court's decision and the direction that this decision is likely to take on 28th August by indicating that there was something wrong prima facie, those are the words that he's used, with the 5th August decision. Now, the, you know, case before Supreme Court yesterday was not one of the substantive decision making the merits of Judge Dilawar's verdict of 5th August. The case before the Supreme Court yesterday was of whether it was correct on the Islamabad High Court's part to remand the case back to Judge Dilawar on 4th August. And so how can the Supreme Court have said that Judge Dilawar's own decision appears to have been tainted with procedure irregularities and technical irregularities? So that is a bit unfortunate, something over which the Pakistan Bar Council has also expressed its anxiety and its you know, concern that it feels as if the apex court is trying to influence the lower court and the high court's decision, which is pending. And there is no final verdict on it as of yet. And then at the same time, even
question, let me come back to you, Safiullah. I mean, what Muneeb is saying, and were it an ordinary case, and you know, the remarks would have been made. Let's talk about this. And the remarks would have been made in another similar case, about a case already in progress in a lower court. Does it not have huge ramifications? Not, I'm not saying bookishly, I'm not saying, but practically,
lawyers do that all the time. I have, so in my experience, of course, judges say something, and whether it may or may not have any ramification, maybe they haven't even said it. But what I have seen in arguments is that lawyers say that, oh, in such and such case, judge this and that said so, and he would just verbatim say something, and these are all obiter dicta, mind you. And it is unfortunate, and what you're saying is, by the way, I did say obiter dicta earlier, but I would also like to add here that it is on the basis of obiter dicta that major decisions in Pakistan have been taken in the past. It was on the basis of obiter dicta that Chairman NAB was removed from his position. This was Fasih Bukhari. These were obiter dictas. These were just by the way comments, which resulted in such massive fallout that this happened. And for the life of me, I don't understand. Every judge, when they start, they take their oaths. They clearly know their code of conduct, and they know that a judge is not supposed to reveal his mind before the case comes to him. But here the judges don't seem to have any qualms with prima facie just revealing their minds. And
about a case that is in progress, in a lower court,
and a political case at that,
and a political case which they know will have consequences.
So the only presumption that one can have about such matters is that these judges are looking for some sort of political hype. That's
this
it.
way they influence it,
There's
Give
nothing
their
else to it.
And the most important thing in Toshakhana case is this, that PTI chairman and the PTI party has been used to linger on and drag the cases for years and for 6, 7, 8 years. In this case, when Humayun Dilawar, he was dealing in this case, he did not linger it on as the PTI chairman and PTI as a party they have been thinking of. He decided it in days, and this has really, shocked PTI chairman.
Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for being with us. Naveed, Aman Khan Saab, thank you for joining us. Barrister Safiullah, Ghauri, thank you for being with us. Muneeb Qadir Saab, thank you for joining us today. Overall, of course, as far as things stand at this time, there are huge economic challenges for the current caretaker government, as there were for the last government headed by the former Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif Saab also. Of course, with Pakistan battling economically as far as the political capital of different political parties is concerned, that seems to hang in balance. Of course, we will know more as the case of the Toshakhana case progresses. We will also, of course, have an end to this whole controversy that has unfortunately been created as far as the 90-day period is concerned. But of course, elections will be held if 3 to 2 months after or before. The question of the next government and the tasks that they will have to handle will also not be easy. And it seems to be rather an uphill task at this time. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.